God, the kind of crap that employees have to deal with in a corporate environment just makes my blood boil, and it makes me feel really fortunate that I don't have to deal with that crap, as I'm able to be my own boss with this YouTube endeavor. Today I want to talk about a story involving Blizzard executives forcing a manager to give employees a lower evaluation than they deserve just because they have to meet a quota. The following was reported by Jason Schreier from news outlet Bloomberg. Here's an article whose headline reads, Blizzard manager departs in protest of employee ranking system. It is explained right here that a manager at Blizzard was ousted after refusing to give a low evaluation to an employee that he felt didn't deserve it in order to fill a quota. This is part of something that Blizzard implemented back in 2021 called stack ranking, which involves employees being ranked on a bell curve and managers being forced to give low ratings to a certain percentage of staff. So even if everyone is performing at equal levels of success, management is forced to essentially screw over some of the employees just because. Imagine if you took a class where all students got A's on their test, but the school principal forced the teacher to give certain students a lower grade, a C or a D, just because they have to meet a certain quota and abide by this bell curve ranking system. It's an environment where, say, getting 97% on a test versus getting 99% makes all the difference in the world, even though both are really good freaking scores. And hell, even if all students in this scenario get 99% or 100% on their tests, with this stack ranking system, it is mandatory to give some students a lower grade. It's that, but translated into an employment environment which is so ridiculously unethical. More specifics are detailed here. Managers at Blizzard were expected to give a poor developing status to roughly 5% of employees on their teams, regardless of whether they deserve it or not, which would lower their profit-sharing bonus money and could hamper them from receiving raises or promotions. Just one of these lower artificial evaluations could not only impact the employee's financial standing, but also their ability to move up the ladder, to get promoted, and to just get better paid. Not because they genuinely underperform, but because executives enforce a quota that has to be met because they want to save money by ensuring that certain employees get paid less, even if they deserve to get paid more. God forbid that if everyone's doing well, then everyone gets bonuses and opportunities for raises and promotions. So the manager in question who protested this was Brian Birmingham, who was the co-lead developer of World of Warcraft Classic, and he wrote an email to staff last week to express his frustration with this system. He wrote that he and other managers on the World of Warcraft team had been able to circumvent or skip filling the quota for the last 2 years, and that he believed the mandate had been dropped or wasn't strictly enforced, but recently he was forced to lower an employee from the average successful rating to the developing status in order to hit the quota. Again, for reasons that have nothing to do with the employee's actual performance and more to do with just the executive mandate that roughly 5% of employees get screwed. Even when everyone is performing at about the same level, or even when a specific employee doesn't deserve to get downgraded because they've been doing a good job. Now, of course, executive leadership provided a bullshit reason, stating that it was important to squeeze the bottom-most performers as a way to make sure everybody continues to grow. This sort of policy, says Birmingham, encourages competition between employees, sabotage of one another's work, a desire for people to find low-performing teams that they can be the best-performing worker on, and ultimately erodes trust and destroys creativity. And that's because the game is rigged. Even if you perform at or above the standards required for you to be deemed a good employee, the quota might still screw you over for no good reason. And so it's about gaming the system at that point, trying to get ahead through whatever means necessary in order to win favor with the people responsible for evaluating you. Since just doing your job well isn't good enough because of a quota that will screw some people even if they're doing a good job, it's going to force people to try to come up with ways to not fall within that 5% group that has to be, regardless of the performance, be reviewed poorly. And so Birmingham, being the Chad that he is, refused to work at Blizzard until the company removed this stack ranking policy. He made a stand saying, I'm not going to treat my employees like this. I'm not going to give someone who's been doing a good job a poor evaluation just because of corporate bullshit. And so in an email to staff, he wrote, if this policy cannot be reversed and the Blizzard Entertainment I want to work for doesn't exist anymore, and I'll have to find somewhere else to work. The corporate overlords, of course, were none too happy about Birmingham's protest and rebellion. Once word spread after Birmingham told a large group of colleagues that he might resign, he was called by HR to confirm whether he was resigning or not, and he told them that he was still considering things, but he would absolutely not work until the policy was retracted. So at that point, corporate and HR decided that he was too much of a liability, so he was fired, straight up terminated, according to Birmingham's email. To justify all of this, a Blizzard spokesperson spouted out the following BS. The company's employee evaluation process was designed to facilitate excellence in performance and ensure employees who don't meet performance expectations receive more honest feedback, differentiated compensation, and a plan on how best to improve their own performance. Except you've set up a system where employees can be punished even if everyone is performing at the level that they should be. Giving an employee who's been performing well a poor evaluation just to meet a quota is not honest feedback. It doesn't help come up with a plan on how to improve their performance because they'll be demotivated by the fact that even though they're performing well, they're still given a poor evaluation for no good reason. What Blizzard really wants is the differentiated compensation so that they don't have to pay everyone equally and save some money along the way. All this does is perpetuate distrust, sabotage, backstabbing, and just a cutthroat, toxic work environment where it's survival of the fittest, where the system's rigged, so we just gotta fend for ourselves. Bloomberg makes it a point to highlight that this stack ranking system is something that's used by several tech companies, including Amazon, though it's worth noting that Microsoft, which plans to acquire Activision Blizzard, put an end to its own stack ranking program in 2013. So if the acquisition goes through, maybe Microsoft can step in and remove the stack ranking system from Blizzard as a whole. Or at least that's the hope, but you never know. Corporations can seldom be trusted to do the right thing. But yeah, this whole stack ranking system has received widespread criticism because it perpetuates an environment where employees are pitted against one another and facilitates toxic work environments, which is something that Birmingham refused to abide by and something that he refused to keep a secret. We were asked to keep it confidential, said Birmingham, because it was an ongoing discussion and we don't want Activision executives to make things even worse. That threat of retaliation cannot be allowed to motivate our actions. Even if that's legal, it's certainly not ethical and I cannot support it. Legal but not ethical is essentially how corporations operate. That phrase right there could be applied across so many corporate practices. Just as loot boxes aren't legally gambling, even though they function exactly like gambling, so corporations are able to get away with implementing loot box mechanics in games that are rated for kids. It is certainly not ethical, but hey, legally, they can get away with it. And that's no different for this messed up stack ranking system that allows corporations to give employees artificial evaluations, inaccurate evaluations, just to meet quotas and cut costs. Utterly disgusting. I'm glad that Birmingham not only exposed this, but stood his ground and decided I'd rather not work here than bend the knee and be complicit to what is essentially corporate evil. Birmingham has my respect and no doubt the respect of many colleagues and employees, and I hope that after his departure from Blizzard, he'll find greener pastures ahead, that he'll land on his feet and go on to work on incredible projects. It seems like he'd make a great leader who actually gives a shit about the human beings that he's responsible for. But yeah, there you have it, folks. That's everything you need to know about the latest in Activision Blizzard's shady corporate practices. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on all this, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.